Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unpacking Love. I'm so excited to be bringing a new guest in the house today. We've got Zoe. Hey girl, hey.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming to the podcast. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, everyone who's listening. We are going to be talking about friendships and relationships. First question is going to be around the types of conversations that, you have with your friends, right? So, Zoe, in your opinion, what is okay? And then, like, what is not okay to tell your friends about a relationship?
Okay, so I think with relationships, it's always good to have your boundaries in place, especially when it comes to your friends. Because yes, we do have friends, but then the thing is, we don't necessarily know the intentions of their heart. So it's okay to talk about things that won't ruin your relationship with your partner. For example, you can talk about the good things that your partner does and not necessarily the bad things. I feel there are some things that you can share with your friends, but you actually have to ask yourself, okay, if I share this with my friend, how will they look at my boyfriend? Like, would they still respect him? Or would they even still want him to be my boyfriend?
Oh yeah. Wow. That you know what? That was very solid. And it was very packed. So there's a lot to unpack in that. I definitely
Okay,
agree with you, especially the part where you were talking about sometimes you don't know people's intentions and like they might actually just be out to ruin your relationship, right? Meaning, for example, you tell your friends about a fight that happened between you and your boyfriend. And then
right,
if a friend is jealous of you secretly and you don't know about it, maybe what your boyfriend did was not that bad, but then this friend will blow it out
exactly.
of proportion and
Oh
then
my
kind of
God,
just say like, "Oh, you need to leave this relationship. Like, you need to leave this relationship." They have no objectivity to them. I really like what you
exactly.
also said about how you have to be careful, right, when you're sharing certain things with friends because friends are people who are okay, if it's like a good friend, it's someone who would look out for you, right?
All right,
I think that the difference between like a good friend and a bad friend would be when you're looking out when they're looking out for you, it doesn't
mm-hmm.
always mean that in every single fight that you and your person have, you're gonna be right. So they're looking out for your best interests. And even if you were to tell them about a fight that you had with your partner, a good friend would be able to objectively call you out if you're the one who's in the wrong, right?
All right,
My thing though is like, I guess going a little bit more into like, that part where it's like, okay, it's no longer okay is if you if you don't want your friends to remember something, right?
all right.
You don't want your friends to remember something after your
Don't
emotions have
share it.
died down, then don't share it because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. And I
Yeah,
am one of those, I will be very honest. I'm one of those friends where if you are out here telling me about, and objectively speaking, like when we look at what's going on from your side of the story, what you've told me, this person is in the
mm-hmm.
wrong. It's really hard for me to forget what this person has done, right? So then you might be telling me all these things, these bad things that your person is doing. And, maybe you're telling me in the heat of emotions. And then you later on
Exactly.
regret telling me, right? Or maybe like it was a really big deal to you when it was happening. And maybe like you even broke up over it. But then now you're
Yeah.
getting back together with the person. And now here's what friends do. And I really believe it's also good friends who do this for you. Where it's like
Okay.
sometimes when people are in love, right?
Uh-huh.
Like if I'm madly in love with someone and then they do me so wrong, and then I tell my friends, that could actually be a good thing because I have
Okay.
other people who are external to me who are looking out for my, best interest, right? And now they know about it. Maybe we go through a breakup, I'm crying, these people are consoling me. And then
Mm.
if, right, you know how some people can be trifling. Like after a few weeks or like some months, this person who did me so wrong comes back and they want to get back together with me because I was so in love with them. It can be so hard for me to see the gravity of what they did, right?
Right.
So in that case, for sure, I would need friends who would remind me like, yo, have you forgotten what this person put you
Right.
through? Right? Because sometimes people do put you through so much that it's like, man, like you
Right.
can't even eat anymore, you can't sleep, skin is breaking out, like you've gone through the most, right? So it is helpful, I think, for some things. Now, of course, it's going to be up to your discretion, like what you consider like a big thing for you to tell your friends, because how love is set up, it's very easy to like forgive someone. But then there's
Yeah,
certain
but
stuff
that's
that like,
love.
no,
If you
but
think
then
about it,
Zoe, I mean,
yeah.
yes, it is love, yes, like forgiving, but then there's also just like toxicity, right?
Okay,
So
fair
if
enough.
someone, uh, let's say for example, a boyfriend, slaps one of my friends in a fight. He's never done it before. It's the first time that he did it. But then for her, she's like, you know what? I will not tolerate physical abuse. And because of this, it's
Right,
over, right? There's some things I think that you can forgive. And also, I
right.
mean, like forgiveness, you can also just forgive someone and still not be with them, right? But if we're saying, oh, it's okay for this person to like slap you and you keep going back, like there's physical abuse going on, and you keep going back because you're saying like all in the name of love, for me that's just red flags.
That's true. No, I agree. No, honestly, I do agree. But then to some extent, I feel like there should be some independence in that. I feel like sometimes we run to friends because we're not willing to take responsibility of our own relationships and our own sanity. So we
Hmm.
always want people to actually identify with us to say, am I doing the right thing or is this the right person for me? If you know and if you have done like due diligence to actually check yourself and to say, no, I actually deserve good love. You have no business going to tell your friends. You really don't have any business in telling your friends what's happening in your relationship because you yourself are solid enough. And I feel like nowadays we have people who are not solid enough within themselves. So they want their friends to help them out, which is okay. But then it's kind of bittersweet thing because you don't know how it will turn out. Because sometimes, yeah, your friends can actually be there for you, and also your friends can actually mess things up for you. So you just have to make it work somehow.
Yeah, I think what you said was so solid that like there has to be some independence, right? Like, so I think, and also even just from personal experience, there were a bunch of things that would happen in the relationships I was in that I just would not tell friends, right? So
Right.
like here and there would be some things that I would tell. I'm not gonna act like, oh, my friends never knew, some things that happened. I think it's a balance, right? And you
Yeah.
as the
Balance.
person have to determine how much detail you want to share with
Right.
people versus not. So I think it is a balance. I definitely do think that like sometimes it's helpful to speak to
Mm-hmm.
a friend who you trust to get
Mm-hmm.
advice sometimes. So one of my good friends, one of my girlfriends, right? She is in a relationship with someone, and then she has a guy friend of hers from way back when, like when they were younger, who she goes to when she's seeking objective advice from like a male perspective.
Oh
And I know
no.
you said, "Oh no." And what I was about to say about that
Oh
is
no.
for them,
Yeah.
it's worked out because the guy friend doesn't isn't checking for her and has not been checking for her. Of course it can get very sticky where like you're telling a guy friend and maybe secretly this guy has been waiting for his window of
Yeah.
opportunity, because the more you tell them about how your boyfriend is doing you wrong, the more they're like, leave
Right.
him, leave him, right? So I think that you in any case you have to use your own discernment and see what's best for
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you had some violent reactions to what I said.
I did. I did. Do you know what? With the situation with your friend, I think it's cool and everything, to have like a guy friend who's there and he's like, no, a guy shouldn't, do this. You should do this because you need to be treated like a queen or you need to be treated like a normal human being. That's fine. But like this is a man we're talking about. It's different. Men and women are different. A man, yes, he's helping, but inside him he's like, oh, I wish one day I could tap that. Like
Are you saying that that's a thing that old man would clarify? Is this an old man, like old
I
men
wouldn't just to be safe, I wouldn't say all men. I'll say most men. Most.
Oh,
Most.
snap. Oh,
Yes.
shit.
Most
That's a hot
men.
take. That's a hot take. But I think to basically to your point, right? I think if you also, if you've been telling this friend of yours, guy friend, and you're a woman, you've been telling them about, relationships and fights that you're having, and every time you tell them, they always tell you to leave that's a red flag from your friend, right? Like, obviously, obviously, they might have ulterior motives, but if this friend has actually objectively called you out on things that
Right.
you're doing wrong, then I don't
Right.
see an issue with, if you're like, oh, okay, I do need a male perspective. Because for some other people, right, they don't have brothers. And so they really, or some people don't have brothers, or they
Right.
don't have a father figure who they can even go and ask certain questions. Or some people do have fathers, but
Oh,
really, do you
right.
want to go with your relationship problems to your
No,
dad and be like,
no.
what advice can you give me?
Right.
So I think they can
Okay.
be healthy things that could come out of opposite sex friendships. Now, I'm not saying go to this guy friend all the time and ask them
Right.
anything that happens, right? But then if there's some things where you're like, okay, am I thinking about this wrong? Or like help me understand. I guess I don't see any harm with that. I think also just circling back on what I had said with having conversations with friends and now kind of switching back to female
Okay.
friends, right? There have been times where some of my friends would tell me about, let's say, something that their significant other didn't do. And I've actually called them out on it. And I'm like, your expectations are unreasonable. Or like, maybe, try see it from this person's perspective. And I think also things start to shift, especially when your friends are now married, right? So when a married friend comes to me and
Oh, that's
they're
so
like,
bad.
and they're, because I mean, here's the thing, right? I do think that friends or even like some family can help you if they are in the right, if they have the right heart or like
Right.
the right, you know spirit. They could help you
Mm-hmm.
navigate certain things. I'm not saying go and divulge your marital problems to people, no, but I'm also not going to look down on people who do seek, advice from people. I just think you have to be really, really careful, especially when you're now married. And I
Yes.
do see, even for myself with married friends, if they tell me stuff, I have to actually be very, very objective about it. Like, I need to, like,
Very.
if there's a way for me, and obviously these men, thankfully, they're not doing crazy things. They're not cheating or anything like that. But like when my friend will tell me stuff, I really do kind of take the guy's side, really, and be like, you know what? Have you tried to look at it from this way? Because sometimes also I think people go to their friends to look for validation and to have friends say like, yes, you're so right in this, right? But when someone is married, at least for me, I take marriage very, very seriously. And so I do not want to be someone who helps somebody leave a marriage. That is not my
Oh,
portion in
okay.
life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's why in those cases, if someone is seeking some sort of advice or they're like venting to me, I do
Mm-hmm.
try, obviously within reasonableness, to actually to play devil's advocate and be like, hey, actually, have you thought about it from like this person's perspective,
Oh,
right?
that's good.
Because me, I don't want, if there's something that I would not be a part of is like breaking someone's marriage. And I think also if someone is so frustrated and they're sharing stuff with you, you don't want to be that person who like then makes them feel like they're very, very right and what they're thinking, because you just never know the power of your words as well. So I think I do take things differently depending on like whether someone is married versus not
Right.
married.
Personally, I agree with everything that you said. Like what you said was so profound. Um, about not, being the person who actually breaks up the marriage. Because some people they actually want to break up the marriage and say, "Oh, I saved her from that toxic relationship." But then you're only getting one side of the story. What if your friend was also toxic in the relationship? And that was actually a
Lady,
reaction to what
speak.
doing. And here you are marching and saying, yeah, let them get a divorce. So it's actually really good that you said, you need to actually encourage them to see both sides and to actually think logically and not just be emotional and be like, okay, I'm going to leave. Because a lot of people, they get married and then they see, okay, this person is okay, we're good, everything is
Hmm.
going well. And then they see an aspect of a person that they don't like. And then they're like, do I really need to stay my whole life with this person? They change. But then we're human beings. We're meant to change. We're not going to be the same. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You're going to constantly change. And marriage is actually staying with that person and saying, through their changes, I'm going to be there. and I'm also going to change along with them. I personally feel that's how things should be. But like in our society today, when you just see one flaw, you're like, no, I'm tapping out. No, there's no tapping out. You need to solve it. There's no tapping out because you went, you had this big wedding, you invited us, we enjoyed your food, and now you're saying you want to tap out. Tap out for who? No, stay in that marriage, face the fire, make it work. I feel a lot of people know that because you can divorce a person and actually move on, they say, okay, I have to move out of the relationship. I do understand, there are some relationships where it's just so bad. Like it's just
Hmm.
so toxic. Like, you're worried about their safety, maybe they're being physically abused or even emotionally abused and all those things. I would understand. But then there's some things where it's just like a personality flaw that they have, or maybe they had it but you never discovered it because you were like, "Ooh, tall, dark, handsome. Let me grab that and make him my man." And you made him your man, and then you realize, yeah, okay, yeah, he's a bit of a narcissist. Yeah, you start realizing these things, but then that's why there's therapy. So I advocate for therapy, especially in Black communities. I feel like people kind of, want to suppress that and say, no, we don't talk about our problems. But I feel like people should actually go to a counselor, go and see someone, because people have layers. When I come to Michelle, the Michelle that I'm seeing right now and the Michelle that I'm talking to is not the Michelle, it's not 100% Michelle, it's an aspect of Michelle. Same
Hmm.
as well with Zoe. You're not seeing 100% of Zoe, you're seeing an aspect of it. It's only when you actually get married to someone and you actually live with someone, you're like, yo, you are the devil. Because I'm being for real. You're like, you start seeing aspects of themselves because when you're in a relationship with a person, you're not going to show them all your flaws. No, you know, you're not going to show them that. You're going to show them your good side. I don't know. There's a time where I was having a conversation with a guy, and then he said, "Oh, my demons." I said, "What?" I said, "Sorry, I feel bad for this," but in my head, I said, "What? Your demons?" And then he said, "Yeah, my demons. They said I should talk to you. I'll become a better person." I said, "You know what, boy? Listen here. You need to go see a pastor so he can deal with your demons. I'm not here to deal with your demons. I'm here to have a relationship with you."
Oh my gosh, yo, that's wild. Honestly, she said back to sender. I think you touched on so many important things, right? Like this whole thing of, being a tapping out generation. Like after something
Right,
isn't working out, you're just like, chucking my juices. And like I said earlier too, right? Like I
right.
really do want to reiterate my points about the marriage kind of advice, or even in any kind of relationship. I
Right.
am I would not be devil's advocate with somebody who's going through some sort of abuse and stuff, because I
Mm,
feel like we've heard so many stories of, oh, this person was being physically abused, and like they would initially it
mm,
was like a slap, and they're like, oh, I guess a slap is
mm.
okay, and then this person begs them whatever. Another day the person takes out a knife and things just escalate, and
Mm,
you could lose your life. So I think that there's certain things
right,
that are like, to your point, if something is a safety issue, yeah, that's a big thing. And I'll
right.
also say for anybody who's listening, who's in a relationship where there's physical abuse going on and you've never told anyone, physical abuse is not okay. There's nothing that makes physical abuse from anybody okay. So,
Right.
if you need to talk to someone, do it, right? Because I think there's also like maybe some people might have shame of like, how do I even tell
Yeah.
people? And
Yep.
also people might be like, oh, you already know that if you tell people, they're gonna tell you to leave that person. But sometimes,
Mm,
this is what I'm gonna say, is sometimes friends and family can be your strength in those
right.
moments, right? Like you need people to physically come and rescue you from those situations.
Oh,
So
yes.
I do encourage anyone who's going through that to like, speak up. So I think back on what you said though, you mentioned something that was really important, Zoe, where you said you only have one side of the story.
Right.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
While you can know someone as a friend, you don't know them as a boyfriend and you do not know them
Oh,
as
that
a
is so
girlfriend.
good.
You
That
know
is so
them as a
good.
friend. And here's the thing, someone can be an amazing friend. So
Go
amazing.
there. Go there.
But in a relationship, this person could be the most toxic person. They could be doing
Oh,
all sorts
yes.
of things. They could be doing all sorts of things. So I think, to your point, Zoe, there are two sides of a story. And I
Mm,
think that's where it becomes very important to like navigate these things,
right.
especially when like you have a friend who vents to you a lot. Just also just doing your best as a friend to try and ask for the other side of the story, right? Like, okay, what are you doing? What are some things that you're doing
Exactly.
that like, you know, we don't know
Exactly.
about? So that was really, really good. Now I want to go back to what you said about, you know, it's okay to share the good things in your relationship because, you know, as we've talked about the bad, there's so many things, right? People will remember the bad. Will people even still respect your person after all is said and done and they know all these things?
Right.
So going back to what you said about it's okay to share the good things, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because there's a side of it where it's like, yeah, you know, when you share good things, it paints your partner in a good light. Could you see negatives to doing that?
Um, okay. I'll talk about the positive first of doing that. So I was in a relationship with someone and things were going good like the first 3 months. And then the second half, yeah, mm-mm, yeah, things just went downhill. So now when I was talking to my sister and I was sharing what was happening, she said, well, it's so good that you're sharing this with me. I think this person is not for you because you never shared any good thing that they had done for you. But in my
Mm,
mind, I know the good things that they did.
that's deep.
So now for me to translate everything and to share it to her, it's now an awkward situation because the picture that I've painted to her is this guy is a bad guy, this guy is doing this. But in the first 3 months, I didn't share that. I didn't share the dates that we went to. I didn't share the way I was feeling. I just said to myself, this is so good. This is for me. Of course,
Mm,
the later half went bad because there were things that we were supposed to deal with both, and that's fine. Like we're all human beings, no one is perfect. But for her, I painted an image that this guy is bad, but he's not. We're just not good for each other.
right.
Right. But she would have known that we're not good for each other if I had told her the whole story from the beginning. Oh, this guy has done this, or this guy did this. But for me, I said, no, this is good news. I need to keep it to myself. Right.
And then of course it gets awkward too because like now after you've shared these bad things and you know your sister or your friend is now telling you like, okay, I do think based on what you've told me they're not a good person. If you now try to say the good things, it might seem like you're now kind of defending the person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, okay. So I guess sharing the good kind of brings balance to the picture. Is that what you'd say?
It does. It really does. Because if you look at it, if you're in a room, right, and you do a performance, and then after the performance, 100 people come to you and they're like, "You're amazing, you're amazing, hey!" And then there's that one person who comes to you and they're like, you suck. That was
Yeah.
horrible. You go home and you start thinking about that one person. So logically speaking, if I had mentioned all the good, you know, and later on maybe, shared some bad stuff, like she would have understood that, what, there's certain things that we both have to work on. But because she never knew anything good, like literally now bad information outweighs good a lot.
Ooh,
So
speak
now I'm
about
not
it.
even giving her anything to work with. Do you get what I mean? So yeah.
Right. Oh wow. Yeah, no, I think that was a good point because if you do have the habit of like at least sharing good things about someone when something bad happens, you have people again who will remind you like, but you know, like let's say for example,
Exactly.
if it was like something petty that this person had done, right? In the second half of the relationship, they could have been like, oh, but then you know he's done all these good things. But to your point, like the bad that he
Mm,
was doing was pretty bad. So it was like, okay, there isn't much to discuss there. But I completely get what
right.
you're saying. You know,
Mhm.
I think that I would say I when it comes to like sharing news,
Mhm.
I think you have to be very careful, or at least how I go about my life. You have to
Okay.
be like very careful with the type of friends you're sharing stuff with, right?
Right.
So, for example, if with my close friends, like these are friends that have stood the test of time. I know their
Exactly.
hearts by now,
Yeah.
and we've shared so many different things. Like I know if I come and I tell them good news, like how they would react, right? Like with those people,
Mm-hmm.
I could share. But then there are also people who are like they're not close friends. So to be honest, like maybe they have no business knowing even the good that's going on in your life, right? Because at the end of the
Oh,
day,
yeah, they
going back
don't.
to what you said, where you said like you don't know people's hearts, you don't know people's intentions. Some people can't stand hearing other people's good news, you know? And I feel like there's so many stories of like, jealous friends. And like sometimes too,
Right.
like some people can be crazy to where now they're like, oh my gosh, she has such an amazing boyfriend, right? Here you are
Mm-hmm.
always sharing, oh my gosh, guys, like he did this for me. And then he did this for me. And then he bought this for me. He bought this for me. And then you have someone who you do not know is a Judas Iscariot in your group of friends. And
Oh
then they're like,
goodness.
oh, he's a good guy. Right?
Oh
And
goodness.
honestly, you just don't
Right.
know some people. They could go behind your back now trying to. I'm not saying
Right.
like, oh, your man would be weak and he would fall for them. No, but I'm saying like you could have some bad apples that then start to like envy
Right.
what you have and actually starts making moves. I mean, like, how many stories have you heard of like, oh, this woman is now married to this man, but she actually like stole the guy from her friend.
I
Some of
know.
these things. Some of these things happen. So I think like whether it's good news or it's like bad things that are
Right.
happening in the relationship, you just have to be careful and very selective who you share stuff with because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you just don't know what people are gonna do with the information.
Okay. I like what you said about, knowing where to place your friends. At
Mm-hmm.
my church, um, the leader of the church says, the people who are supposed to be in the kitchen are meant to be in the kitchen. The people who are meant to be in the bedroom are meant to be in the bedroom. The people who are meant to be in the garden are meant to be in the garden. The moment you put people in the garden, from the garden in the kitchen, you have a messy kitchen. So just knowing where to place people is very, very important. And I like what you said that they have you've tested them, like you've seen like, okay, yeah, they have stood the test of time, through thick and thin, they've been there for you.
Mm-hmm.
But then um, you have to understand that Judas was also a disciple.
Come on, speak on it. Speak on it.
He was also a disciple. He wasn't far away. No, he was saying all these great things. He was hearing what Jesus was saying. He was there and he was seeing the potential and everything, but he still decided to do what he did. So, as
Right.
much as you can be close to someone, some people, they just like that. Like, you can't really do anything. That's just them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's
And
just
honestly,
them.
it gets to a point too for those people who are like the bad apples, where now they actually can't stand how much good news you've had. And then it
Right.
takes it takes one thing that's going to be like, okay, for them it's like a break, right? Like it's a breaking point. And now they could even lash out on you for no reason, right? So you
Yeah.
just really, I think, whether it's good news, bad news, just really, really have to be careful with what you share.
Right. I was listening to this guy called Benjamin Zulu. He's a life coach, and he said, when you want to know how someone actually feels about you, share good news with them. And then he said, if a person instinctively reacts like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you," and they start screaming, or you can see happiness in their face, then that's your friend. You share good news, and then there's like a pause, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, congrats!" Because they were processing
Mm.
what you just shared.
Oh, that's deep.
If they're genuinely happy for you, there's no need to process anything because, oh my gosh, your win is my win. But the fact that I have to process your win, say, okay, so if she gets married, then where does that put me? They're not
Mm.
on that, oh, I'm happy for you type of vibe.
Oh, that was deep. I guess, yeah, sharing some good news could be a test to see like, who's really for you like that. I think also, even from the Christian perspective, praying
Mm-hmm.
for things to be revealed, right? Like
True,
praying,
true,
um, God will reveal things that you
true.
yourself you don't know. Because then also I think even with let's say what Benjamin Zulu was saying, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
that could be a good test. But then there are also some people who are really good at pretending, And
Oh
they could
yeah.
actually like scream for you and like, be
Right.
excited in the moment. But then the thoughts that go on when they're now by
Hey.
themselves and like what they would
Right.
do with the information could just be like
Right.
completely like different, right? So yeah, I think also maybe even just praying about like the friends that we would have in our circles and for them to, the bad apples to be removed. I think I hear this a
Yeah.
lot when it comes to like say relationship prayers of like, oh God, if this person is not for me, then remove them. But
Mm-hmm.
then also even friends, like if this
Oh
person's heart
yes.
is not a good heart, Lord, like just remove them out as a friend from my life or something like that.
Right. No, that's actually really good. I like what you said about prayer because I remember I was in a similar situation. I liked this guy and we were chatting, and I was just feeling some type of vibe from my friend. And I said, "Oh,
Mm,
I don't understand what's going on with her." Then I said, "Okay, let me go and pray about it."
hmm.
I went and I was actually young at that time, but anyways,
Okay.
prayer is important. I actually went and prayed about it and I said, God, I really like this guy, but I don't understand what's happening with my friend. It's like, I don't know what she's doing. And then later on, we're having a conversation and she basically like tells me that she likes the same guy by her own mouth. You, I said, what? I said, are you for real? Yeah, I like this guy, but I wasn't sure because you were also talking to him. I said, I blatantly told you I like this guy. Now you are telling me that you also like it. Do you get what I mean? She came
I
and
get
then,
it. Hmm.
yeah, so I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I was young at the time, but then I was like, I'm using prayer now.
Hmm. No, true, 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 true. Man, wow. Honestly, thank you, God, for all these revelations. Also, more on stuff that would be, in my opinion, like okay to share with friends or to ask friends. I think sometimes, like, you might need advice about big moves in life. So, for example, people do different things in their relationships. Some people might be like, oh, I'm thinking of moving in with this person. And I had a friend actually who was in a younger relationship, right? And she was talking about like the whole moving in thing. And so talking about it was like, okay, are you sure that this is something that you'd want to do? Because at least from what I hear from a lot of people, right? It's just always good to still have your place to go to if something goes
Right.
wrong, right? You don't want to be like, oh, 3 months
Exactly.
into something and now you're like, oh, okay, we've combined everything and I'm living with this person. Then one day you get into a fight and then because you really didn't know this person and like what their character is like and then the person is just like, oh, like get out of the house, or oh, like I want
Hmm.
a break, I want us to like break up, right? So now where are you gonna go? Because you've just
Yeah.
been in the same apartment and in the same place as this person. So things like those, advice, or it could be some people could want to talk to their friends about making certain big moves like buying property together, right? And
Right.
again, this is in a relationship context, not in like the marriage context. But like, yeah, someone
Hmm.
might be like, I'm thinking of like buying property. And then I think it does help to get different people's opinions, right?
Right.
Like friends or family, and just speaking to people to hear what they think. At the end of the day, obviously, we're all adults and we make the decisions ourselves, but it would be good to
Right.
just have those conversations.
Yeah, and that's very important to actually talk to friends and family if it's a big decision, because that decision is not just affecting you, it's also
Mm,
affecting your family. You just decide to move in with some guy and you invest some money in that, and then now you're homeless. Now your parents, who are God knows where, now have to fork out money to find you an apartment. So it's
right.
stuff like, I'm
So
sorry for
now with
laughing.
your business is becoming everyone else's business.
And now it's becoming everyone's business. So yes, definitely. If it's a big move, then definitely involve your friends and family because they're the ones who are gonna bail you out. You know,
That's right.
yeah,
That's
they're the ones
okay.
who are gonna bail you out. So let them know, guys. I'm about to make a silly decision right now. What do you think?
Not a silly decision. Look at you coming in with judgment. What's going on, girl?
I was just,
Oh my
I
gosh.
just had such a blast. Like this was amazing. I wish I
Oh,
could do this all night, like just talking about relationships. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. Like I appreciate it.
thank you so, so much, Zoe. And also to everybody who was listening, thank you so much for listening to us. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are. And also, make sure you leave stars on the podcast, guys. Make sure you rate the podcast, okay? Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you in the next episode. Peace. Ndiwe wandiro ya moyo wangu, ndiwe wandikanganiza fungo zangu.